Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start. All right, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Dee Gardner. I am a psychotherapist here in Houston with multiple locations. I specialize in trauma. I specialize in sex addiction. And I have a book I am about to publish called The Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Kit. There is also a narcissistic abuse. I have an online Facebook narcissistic abuse group as well, a closed group. So if you're interested in any of that, you can get a hold of me via Facebook or my website, thecounselingservice.com. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to go ahead and post this as well. I'm going to talk about narcissistic abuse and regulated as it relates to complex PTSD. Okay, all right, I'm pretty familiar with trauma, so I figure that will be something that I will that you guys might find helpful. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them, and we'll go from there, and I'll interact with you as well. So, okay, there is PTSD and there is complex PTSD. When a person is in a relationship with a narcissist over a period of time, or you're in an environment where there's narcissism, then chances are you have been traumatized. You have been traumatized. It could be your upbringing with by parents. It could be by the environment, friends, school, or it can be in a relationship as an adult. So you have been traumatized. As a result, you may be experiencing, or you may have experienced PTSD types of symptoms, post-traumatic stress disorder. So many people are familiar with the term PTSD because years ago it came from veterans. When a person has been in combat on the front line, then they develop these symptoms. We used to call it shell shock in the 80s. They would call it shell shock. So the veteran would come home and they hear loud noises and they jump, or in the middle of the night they wake up in a sweat and they grab their gun and they think that they can still hear the gunshots and things like that. So they're on hyper alert. So you have this person that's walking around in life and they no longer need to be living on guard as if they're in a war zone, and they can't turn that part of themselves off. So that's what we mean by PTSD symptoms. That's the regular PTSD symptom. If you grew up, the difference in PTSD and complex PTSD is complex PTSD is usually interpersonal, it's relational. So when you have experienced trauma over a period of time, it can be 18 years, first 18 years of your life. It could be a couple of years. It could be 6 months, but for the most part, complex PTSD sets in over a long period of abuse. And so that person will still have some of the same PTSD symptoms as that war veteran that was on the front line, that can't sleep at night, that's having nightmares and night sweats and flashbacks and can't focus and can't concentrate. But it's more complex. The treatment for that person that's experienced PTSD for a short period of time is oftentimes less complicated, and the healing is usually faster than complex PTSD. So when you have been in some sort of relationship over a long period of time, the healing takes longer and the healing is more complex. So that's what I want to talk about. So whenever we're experiencing complex PTSD, there is a sense of safety that is gone. And so a large part of the healing process for complex PTSD is just learning to feel safe, learning how to walk around in this life without being on guard, not walking around like you're having on eggshells, like you're on eggshells, walk around the house like that. Sometimes we walk around at work like that. Sometimes we go everywhere like on guard. And we're in a landfill, and we don't want to make the wrong step. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to do the wrong thing. So I've got to suppress myself because things are going to blow. And so when you're no longer in that situation, it's still hard to turn that off. And particularly when you have complex PTSD, which is usually the case with a narcissistic abuse survivor. There is complex PTSD. The problem is more complex. So what happens is when you experience a trauma, for example, let's say you asked a person a question, and then they said, "What is wrong with you?" Or "Why would you ask such a question?" Or "I can't believe you'd be thinking something like that," or "You shouldn't feel something like that." You begin to doubt your own reality. And it's almost like that's a little strong, that's like a little, think about a gun, a little bullet, a little stab, a little dart. And then it happens again, there's another dart. And then it happens again, there's another dart. And then all that builds up over and over and again. This could happen a couple of times in one day. So think about it for years. So all that builds up. So eventually the person you may start doubting your reality. Well, maybe I am too sensitive. Well, maybe that doesn't make sense. Perhaps I feel this and that's wrong. I think this and that's wrong. I believe this and that's wrong. And so before you know it, you begin to develop a sense of being wrong, defective, broken, not knowing who you are, what you want. And as a result, you may begin to doubt your own judgment, your opinions, what you want, what you don't want, how you feel, how you don't feel, and it just becomes confusing. So one of the things I notice with narcissistic abuse survivors is they will do what I call take a poll. They begin, because of all the doubt, even in recovery. Let's say you're no longer in this situation. You call someone, "So what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? Do you think this is right? Do you think the person was intending to do that? What do you think?" Well, they doubt their own judgment, their own instincts, their own beliefs, their own thought process, everything. And so one of the reason for that is because of a lack of safety. It's almost like a baby. It's like there's a guy, Richard Gardner is a psychotherapist that also specializes in narcissistic abuse. And he's coined the phrase called sad baby. So when you are confronted with abuse, when you are confronted with, let's say there's this person that has been really mean toward you, they put you down, they call you names, they discount you. Now, this can happen at work, with friends, anywhere. They ignore you, they belittle you or demean you. And so there's a tendency to either come out fighting, fight, flight, or freeze, or what we call fawn. Narcissistic abuse survivors tend to go into either freeze or fawn. And these are all PTSD symptoms. Freeze is when someone says something or does something and we just frozen. Think about a movie. When you see the person running from the bad guys, they're being attacked, why does the person always fall? They trip and and then, oh my God. And, or a person walks in on something. Let's say they walk in a house and they look up and there's blood dripping from the ceiling. And they stop and they freeze. I wonder why they write these movies where they go and investigate. They go to, what's upstairs? I wonder why this blood is coming from the ceiling. That's that fight or flight, that survival instinct not kicking in appropriately. So anyways, so you have this person that will they will go into a freeze state where they just freeze, and sometimes you're like, run, run, run. And in some of the movies you see the person slap them, snap out of it. It's like, oh, okay. That's what the brain does to survive. That's the survival mechanism in the brain. It will take the body and even shut it down, and you can't do anything. That's why it's so hard sometimes to speak up. It's hard to have your voice. It's hard to share your opinion. It's hard to say, no, I don't agree with that, because the radar in the brain says danger, 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 danger. You're gonna be hurt. You're gonna be killed. That's really what that survival thing is about. You cannot make it if you speak up, if you speak your word. You cannot live like that. There's a part of your brain that's literally telling you, it's unconscious. Here, in your conscious, that's not true. But unconsciously, you're frozen. You're frozen. And the other thing is fawn, F-A-W-N. What that means is we try to figure out, okay, what if I say this? What if I do this? What if I do this? If I say this, maybe they won't get mad. If I say that, maybe they won't be upset. If I hold back and don't speak up and don't say I like this or I don't like this, I don't want that, I don't want that. If I do that, then maybe I'll get what it is I need. I'll be able to survive. So that's what fawn looks like. I see that with narcissistic abuse survivors more so than anything. This bargaining. There's this bargaining. And then now that you're no longer with the person, or you're no longer in that particular situation, we keep doing it. And we may do it in the form of, notice if you're doing that with other people. Are you doing that at work? Are you doing that with friends? Are you doing that with family? I don't want to say something to hurt someone. I don't want to say something to offend somebody. People pleasing. Are you taking yourself and pushing it down, even in your other relationships? So that's kind of how it shows up. So now, fast forwarding, let's talk about the narcissist. This person does not have empathy, right? This person plots. They set out to hurt. They are on the offense. They're set out to put themselves up here and you down there, right? This person is out to harm with no remorse. They are going to call you names, put you down, ignore you, that type of thing, with no remorse at all. They may be covert to where they will show up as a loving person, a person that cares, and a person that listens, only to ghost you or disappear, or their actions is not consistent with their words, and then that gets confusing, with no remorse, no empathy. So I'm going to parallel that to martial arts or self-defense, more particularly self-defense. So when a person is in an attack mode, when you take a self-defense class, if you've taken one, they've told you things like poke the person's eyes out. They'll tell you there's some sort of point somewhere on their neck. If you have a pencil, if you have keys, be ready to hold your keys really tight and stab them in the neck. Or there are certain points on the body and they'll say, go after that. But the one thing that I remember from the self-defense class is they would say, poke them in the eye, and there are these really, really, really horrific images. And if you go on YouTube or if you take a class, you see they'll say, kick them here or punch them there or stab them here or stab them there. And it seems very, very rough. It seems mean. Well, think about it. You're fighting for your life. So one of the things that they teach you is to get over it. They teach you to challenge that sense of helplessness in martial arts. In martial arts, they teach you to practice being on the offense and have an offensive energy rather than a defensive energy. So what that means is you need to be ready. Be ready to throw the other person off. You be on the offense. So if we put that in the frame of mental health, we want you to live your life by intention. You be on the offense rather than on the defense. Sometimes a person will say, well, I'm waiting. Well, I just want to know what he wants to do. I want to know what she wants. I want to know why they're acting that way. They're questioning. I want to know what is going on with them. Well, when you live your life by intention, you take that focus from the other person and you put it on you. What is it I need to do for my life? What is it I need to do for survival here? This is about me. This is not about the other person, what they're doing, what they're up to, and that type of thing. So there tends to be a sense of helplessness. So what I want to leave you, what I want to give you is that I want you to challenge your sense of helplessness and powerlessness. So one of the things you can do is take a martial arts class, take a self-defense class, or even just go online, and even there at home, you can practice some of those movements. Motion changes emotion. Practice some of those movements. It is okay. You're not a bad person. You're not a bad person. You're going to redefine yourself and get back into your power. You are a powerful person. You have this person that is out to kill you. There is this person that is out to hurt you. So you have got to find some power within yourself and come up against that and fight for your life. Fight for your life. So it starts when you're not in that situation. And so you could take a martial arts class, take a self-defense class, learn to live offensively. Have an offensive energy. So instead of looking around your life and trying to figure out how to manage your relationship and yourself in relation to other people based on what they say or do, you decide what it is you want to do. You decide. Another thing is movement. Motion changes emotion. Exercise, do something, do some jumping jacks. These are some things that helps you with your emotions, because people that's been impacted by narcissistic abuse tend to be very emotional, and their emotions overwhelm them, and then they follow those emotions. The emotions will dictate your behavior, what you think, what you feel, what you do, your judgment, your opinions, your interactions all day long. Get moving. Get moving. So do exercises that are very rhythmic, like, jumping jacks, walking up and down some stairs. When you're walking, observe nature, breathe in nature, and you have one foot in front of the other, in front of the other, do some rhythmic motions. Those types of exercises, like over a long period of time, helps you with that fight or flight part of your brain, and it helps with the serotonin, the dopamine, and helps you begin to eventually heal from narcissistic abuse and from those PTSD symptoms. If you do this enough, eventually the symptoms will actually go away. So here's another thing. Reach out to other people for support. Reach out for support. Don't isolate yourself. Reach out for support. Come out of disconnect. Call people. Because one of the things that's happened with complex PTSD is now when we're unsafe, we start isolating and we don't trust people, because at one point you trusted people and it hurt. So you'll have to take the risk. It's a risk to trust others. Make friends. Join a meetup group. just get around people. Go somewhere. It could be some sort of group, some sort of community group. It could be meetings, 12-step meetings, church meetings, somewhere where there are people. If you have that safe friend that is supportive, that will listen to you, something, we are social beings, and it's important that we connect with other people. So come out of disconnect, volunteer. It's amazing. You might be amazed how you feel when you start volunteering and stepping outside of this helplessness, powerlessness mindset, and go out and help someone else. It could be anything. It could be Habitat for Humanity. It could be, what do they call these, volunteering, rebuilding houses. It can be anything, volunteering at an animal shelter. Get out of yourself and get out and help someone else as well. Join a support group, and these things increase that sense of safety and that sense of trust. Get to know yourself. Love yourself again. Appreciate yourself. What is it you want to believe about yourself? If today you believe I'm broken, I'm helpless, I make poor choices, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I like. What do you want to believe about yourself, even if you don't believe it? Sometimes affirmations doesn't work for some people. Some people don't do well with affirmations sometimes. So if you don't believe you're an awesome person, you're a wonderful person, and that you can live a better life and love yourself, do you want to? So just thinking, I want to love myself. I want to believe that I can get through this. I want to believe that I can wake up every morning and enjoy life. I want to believe that I'm going to have an awesome day today. I want to believe that I'm going to sleep well tonight, and I'm going to have a restful sleep, and I'm going to wake up in the morning rejuvenated. I want to believe that I'm going to one day wake up and I'm going to look up and the sky is going to look brighter and the sun is going to look brighter, and the grass is going to look greener, and I'm just going to be happy. I want to believe that. That's a start. Watch what happens when you think like that. I may not believe it today, but I want to believe it. So spend time with yourself. So think about, how do you feel when you are alone? When you are alone, when you are home and there is no one around, do you enjoy being with yourself? So think about it. If you were outside of you, hanging out with you, how does that feel? Would you want to hang out with you? Think about people that you're around and you really enjoy hanging out with them. What are the qualities that they have that you like? Do you like hanging out with you? If you do not, how do you want to feel hanging out with you? So this is developing your relationship with yourself. Again, this is learning to believe in yourself, learning to be happy with yourself and with who you are. And all of that impacts your relationship with others. However you feel about you is going to have a whole lot to do with how others feel about you. So this is how we draw certain people, certain behaviors, and certain experiences into our lives. It's based on our relationship with ourselves. How do you feel about you? So one of the things, if you're a client of mine, one of the things I harp on a lot is that inner child. So one thing is that inner child concept. It's where there's this person inside of you that might feel helpless, scared, vulnerable, hurt. Visualize that child inside of you. What is it you as an adult can do for that little child? It's just a moment that you could just take a deep breath and visualize that child and say, you know what? I know there is this hurt part of me. There is this sad part of me. Or there is this loneless, helpless part of me. And I'm going to take care of that part. I'm going to do something for that part. And it's kind of a weird thing that happens. I'll say, okay, what is it you want to do? Well, you know, when I hone in on that part of me that feels sad, lonely, or hopeless, and I say, what is it I need? I need love. Get around some people that are loving you. You need to have some people in your life that will love on you. Or you can just grab a sheet of paper, write a little note to yourself, say, you know what? You are loved. You're lovable. You are enough. And what happens is that part of you sees this writing on paper. Now we're working on the unconscious, and remember, we're working on the relationship with self. That person inside of you, that hurt, lonely, scared person, helpless, down person, sees that, and they're taking it in, and they're taking it in, and they're taking it in. You do that over and over again. What is it you want to believe about yourself? What is it you want? What's going to make you feel better? Nobody really knows that but you. Check in with yourself. So if a person was right next to you and they said, like if a person was next to me, if I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling down, and this person said, what is it that you want? What do you want right now? I don't know. It's actually not true. That's not true. Abuse, the voice of abuse tells you that. But you do know. That's challenging helplessness. What is it you want? Well, I just want to feel better. I just want to feel better. That's all. If I could just feel better, okay, that's the start. What is it you want to do? What comes up? So you check in with that deeper part of you. What comes up? What comes? I'm really just tired and I need to rest. Or, you know what? I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but I'm just going to go outside. Like right now I'm in an office building and there's grass out there. There's trees. There's a window. You know what? I'm just going to go walk outside for a moment and look at the grass. This is called mindfulness. And that's a strategy. That's a proven strategy. You walk outside, look at the trees. That's what little kids do. They get fascinated. Look up at the sky. Look at the clouds. Notice them and notice them. And you just watch what happens. What is it you want? Challenge helplessness. I don't know. Challenge that voice. I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you like? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Who are you? I don't know. Challenge it. You stop. Take a deep breath. Notice what's going on in your body. And there's this little small voice. There's this feeling that comes up that says, I want, you know what? I'm hungry. You know, it might even say, I want some ice cream. I'm not talking about that wounded part. I'm talking about taking a deep breath and listening to that deep part, vulnerable part of you that's been hurting, that may have been lonely, and say, what is it you want? This is a conscious conversation, and it's a conscious mindset. From here, this adult mind going to that deeper wounded part of you. This is how we begin healing complex PTSD, because if you've been in a relationship with narcissism, if you've been experienced narcissistic abuse, then chances are you've been experiencing complex PTSD. Mindfulness, being in the present. So another thing with developing that relationship with yourself is having a passion. 9 times out of 10, when I'm working with someone that's experienced complex PTSD, and I say, what do you want? What do you have a passion for? What's their answer? I don't know. I don't know. What does it for you? What are you excited about? They'll say, I don't know. But challenge that helplessness. What do you have a passion for? So think about some of the things that over the years you've liked to do, you've enjoyed doing, And it could be helping people, it could be writing, it could be drawing, it can be walking, it can be just hanging out, doing certain things with people. It could be, is there a hobby? When you were, here's one way you can identify passion. When you were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, what did you say you wanted to be when you grow up? When you said, when I grow up, I want to, what was it? The odds are that little flame is still in there and it's not going away. Why? Because that's who you are. That's who you are. And that just might be the part of you that you abandoned a long time ago when abuse entered the scene, when abandonment entered the scene, when neglect entered the scene, when being ignored entered the scene. It could be when you were that big, or it could be when you were an adult. That part of you is still in there, and nobody really knows but you. Nobody really knows who you are, what you're about, what you need, what you want, and even what your path looks like on this earth. Complex PTSD interferes with that direction. I have an assignment. It's actually one of the first assignments that I start giving most of my clients struggling with PTSD, is an assignment called Who I Am. Who I Am. And it becomes a struggle. It's a struggle for some people. Who I am. And it's an exploration of you beginning to identify, who am I? You begin looking in the mirror. Who are you? Who are you? You're going to introduce yourself to you. Introduce you to yourself. Who are you? Do you like hanging out with you? That's the start for healing for complex PTSD. If you have questions or comments, feel free to post them, and I will type. I'll keep typing, and even when I do go offline here, I will still, you can still keep posting over the next couple of weeks, couple of days, and I will be responding to any comments, questions, inquiries, to anything that I say here. Let's see if I can get back on track here. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to talk about, let's see. That was a study years ago, and they called it the ACE questionnaire, ACE, and that stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, years ago. And it was a groundbreaking study in the therapeutic community, where it was the first study that showed how childhood experiences impact us today, impact the way a person shows up as an adult. And there's only like 10 questions, and it was amazing what they learned. And one of the things, and the questions were about safety. They were about, did you experience abuse, like sexual abuse or physical abuse? Did you have a sense of safety? Did someone end up leaving, going to the military? Did you experience a sick parent? Those types of experiences. How did you feel? Did you feel physically safe? And what they learned is that trauma would set in over the years, and this is where the term complex PTSD, a part of where that came from. Trauma would set in over the years, you know, when this person's experiencing this over and over and again. And one of the things they learned is neglect was just as terrifying as being raped. You know, actually, it takes longer. Being raped, or an auto accident, a sudden loss, that is shock trauma. Complex PTSD is when we have trauma that's you've experienced over a long period of time. So that takes longer. So being neglected over, let's say, the first 10 or 15 years or 18 years of your life takes a lot longer to heal than an unexpected traumatic experience. So as a result, what they learned, and this was not intentionally, they noticed that although some people did not present with PTSD symptoms, what would happen is some of them would have these medical conditions, and they would have these medical conditions over and over and over again. They may have these chronic medical conditions from that particular study. And so what we've learned is trauma will show up medically as well, especially complex PTSD. So I worked at a Memorial Hermann, at a treatment center, and they would call me in to do EMDR with the chronic pain patients. The CEO of that facility learned that EMDR was helpful with chronic pain, with healing, with helping people not suffer so much from chronic pain, reducing symptoms. I guess that's the word. So they said, any of the counselors here have EMDR? And they were like, well, D. Gardner is the only one that we can think of right now. And so they contracted with me, and then I would come in and I would sit with patients that have been experiencing chronic pain. Now, we are talking about chronic pain where there are diagnosable symptoms. There have been failed surgeries like, let's see, did I lose y'all? Let's see, just a second. Okay. Are you there? I think you're there. So these are people where there were MRIs, there are x-rays that shows that there was this disc problem. There were failed surgeries over like a 10-year, 15-year, some of them 20-year experience period. They've gotten addicted to pain pills, and there may be a broken this or a broken that, and and they're needing to learn to manage it. For whatever it is that they're going through, they need to learn to manage it, and they want to learn to manage it without abusing opiates, without consuming opiates. And so for some of them, we would get together, and we may get together for 1 hour one time, and their pain would go from 9 to 1 or 0, maybe a couple of sessions. So some of them, we would talk about their trauma, and we would do some mindfulness, some relaxation, and maybe some EMDR, and their pain would drop just like that. And I would oftentimes have someone that's upset, and sometimes they'll get really upset, and they'll say, I'm going to sue my doctor. I'm going to sue them. I'm going to, because they're like, I've been going through this for 15 years. Do you know how many surgeries I've had? And I've never felt like this. I have not felt like this in years. I don't even remember feeling this well. My back's not even hurting right now. My neck is not even hurting right now. Just like that. Sometimes the pain is not diagnosable. It's a real pain that they feel, but the doctor hadn't been able to diagnose it, hadn't come up with anything diagnosable, and they start talking about their trauma. They talk about their past. We do EMDR on their trauma, and then it's gone. So that is how complex PTSD looks. It will show up in mental illness, and it will show up in the body. And oftentimes complex PTSD is misdiagnosed as BPD, borderline personality disorder, or bipolar sometimes. So sometimes there's a misdiagnosis because it's complex. It's so complex. So I just want you to know that all the borderline personality disorder, any of the personality disorders, and the complex PTSD and the PTSD, and particularly the complex PTSD and the personality disorders, it's about you developing that relationship with self. You developing that relationship with yourself. So that's kind of my message for you all today. So I'm going to read some of the questions. Any comments? Hi, Christy. Hi, Pam. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, everybody else. Let's see. I can't ignore narcissistic behavior from my family any longer. I do the grass thing all the time. Yeah. I never buy into narcissistic behavior. I just turn and walk away and never fight back or play their game. Good for you. Be the best mom I can be, or surgeon. Love to sew. Yeah, things like sewing, it forces you to stop and focus and calm down and increase that parasympathetic system, because there is a biological component to this, and we want neural pathways to grow. And some of you, I know, watching this, you've heard me talk about the biology, the neural pathways over and over and over again. The thing is, we have to hear it over and over and over again as well. Sometimes we need reminders, just to someone to remind us to say, breathe. So just breathe. So even right now, let's go ahead and activate your parasympathetic sympathetic system some more. So what you would do is you focus on your belly. Focus on your navel right now. Bring your thoughts, your awareness to your navel. How does your navel feel right now? Put your hand on your belly if you can. Take a deep breath and breathe in, and then breathe out and release. Notice how that feels. Notice how your breathing feels. Notice how your energy feels as you begin doing this. Can you notice, especially if you're an empath, if you're very empathetic, you probably notice how your muscles feel right now, and even how your blood feels going through your veins. Take a minute, take a deep breath, calm your mind down, your thoughts down, and focus on your muscles, your blood, your energy. Notice how that feels. Take a deep breath and notice your body. Notice your posture. Stick your chest out and hold your shoulders back. Notice how you felt emotionally when you changed that, made that one small change. Notice how that felt. Notice what your thoughts life looks like when you do this. Take a deep breath, notice your belly, notice your muscles. If your thoughts were here and your anxiety was here and you notice that happening, even as you notice my voice soften, 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 what you've done was you began reducing the sympathetic system in your brain and your body, that fight reaction, and you increase your parasympathetic and your sympathetic limbic system in your brain, and then your muscles, your heartbeat, everything starts lining up and say, okay. Now, if you're used to living in this, living on guard, anxious, social anxiety, anxiety all over, stressed, walking around like on eggshells, then your muscles aren't quite used to, oh, my charge is down. Give me a second, let me plug my laptop in. There we go. Okay, so if you're used to living on guard, you remember this military, you're in the military, you're in combat, and we're always, want to make sure, I make the right move. I want to make sure I have my shield up, because that's not what this is either. This isn't about having your shield up all the time and having this wall so nothing can come in there. This is about loving yourself. That's it. Opening your heart. Matter of fact, what you do as you begin healing that wound and you're taking deep breaths and you're learning to be grounded, stick your chest out, hold your shoulders back. Be in your adult and be okay with who you are. These darts come your way from, I'll say, the world, and they just bounce off of this shield of love and protection that you have for yourself. And the more you love yourself, the more you accept yourself, you will automatically see the humanity in everybody. However, because you love yourself, You're not going to allow yourself to be abused. You're not going to allow yourself to be demeaned. You're not going to allow yourself to be stomped on. And you're going to face reality and look at reality for what it is. This person didn't call me back because they didn't want to. And if a person doesn't want to call me back, I'm going to, whatever your decision is. This person isn't there. This person didn't, listen to me because they didn't want to listen to me. And if a person doesn't listen to me, I love me enough to want to be around someone that will. It's that simple. So take deep breaths. Sometimes we have to take a deep breath and say, okay, I'm safe. I'm here in the office. I'm here at home. There is no gun in front of me. There is no bomb in front of me. Someone said something or did something or didn't say something or didn't do something that I wanted them to do. But I'm still all right. I still love me. I'm still safe. And it's still okay. Love yourself. You're worth it. Enjoy hanging out with yourself. You're worth it. Get to know yourself. You're worth it. Be mindful of what's going on inside of you, internally, and then you can look at things more accurately on the outside when things are happening to you. You can love the person that hurt you, but you don't have to still be hurt. You don't have to keep the door open where you're going to continue to be hurt. You don't have to excuse inappropriate behavior. You love you. You put you first. Oops, my neck was messed up. You still keep your heart open to the world because you still want to keep your heart open for good to come in. Good still needs to be able to come in. So we don't want to have this big wall out there. So the more you develop healthy connections with yourself, develop healthy connections with others, you'll be able to identify the healthy people versus the unhealthy people, what to keep out, close that door, and what to let in. It starts with that. So any more questions before I log off? Hopefully this was helpful, and Claudia and I will be back next week, next Thursday at noon. Take care.